and welcome to the Slingshot Channel. Today's episode is all about fidget spinners. I understand there's a big hype about those, and actually they are fun little toys. Basically they consist of an object like this with different shapes, and also there's always a ball bearing in here. Often you also find ball bearings in here, but I think they only serve as counterweights, since I found that they do not turn. So what you do with those is you simply get them spinning, and then you can turn them around, and actually you can really see how they are like half of a gyroscope, because they stabilize, and it's kind of hard to shift them off balance once they turn. There's various methods how to spin those, and I think most popular is just to do this by your own hands. And I think there are some people that can really get it spinning fast, but there's probably a limit. And then of course there's compressed air, where you simply take compressed air and blow it against this, much like this. So you see, you can get it spinning. But this is the Slingshot Channel, so we must find something that works with rubber to make it spin. And here is what I came up with. The Fidget Spinner Accelerator Gun. Let me show you its features. So as you see, there is a fidget spinner clamped in between these two screws here, and it turns normally, of course. By the way, this is a model with 3 individual ball bearings in the ends. I don't think that they serve any purpose rather than just being a cheap weight, because they do not spin, as the slow motion reveals. In any case, the gun, of course, is just having a regular lock in here, and also a fork. But it took me a while to figure out that the fork needs to be really, really low. The fork is actually on the same level as the stock of the gun, so that it actually shoots downwards a little bit. Otherwise, I found that it is easy to hop over the fidget spinner. The string has been stabilized by serving it with a thinner string, just so give it a little bit more weight. And of course what happens is that once this is cocked back, you see like this, when it passes, it hits the spinning part and spinning motion begins. I also experimented with a longer piece of string here, but then it formed a loop and only one end of the loop hooked in, and that reduced the speed that it was able to apply to the wheel. So in order to test how fast this actually is compared to your naked hand, I first clocked it like this, and then counted the frames on my 2000 FPS recording, and it came up that this is doing about 1850 rotations per minute. That's quite fast, but of course not as fast as this, because I counted that this is about 2850 rotations per minute. So roughly about twice the speed as if you would spin it by hand. And then of course there is the compressor. So with the compressor method, I clocked just under 10,000 rotations per minute with this, which is a lot more in line with other serious scientific tests also proved. Yes, the one in this 999,000 whatever RPM video was homemade, and it was probably a little better than this, but there's no way that it would turn 100,000 times per minute, because, I mean, if you calculate what would then happen, it's crazy. Right, it's a toy, and it's a cool toy, but what does it have to do with the Slingshot Channel? Well, it may be ammo. Exactly, because you see, when you shoot something like this, and you have no spinning, then it will very soon start to wobble and then just fall over like this, which is not ideal for damage and also not ideal for reach. But what if we can make it spinning in flight so that the stabilization effect kicks in and this flies a lot more straight? Of course, we need a special weapon for it. Meet the spinner gun Slingshot. Let me show you its features. Okay, as you see, it is chambered for exactly those cheap fidget spinners, and it actually has like a push rod device. You can actually see it here. So this means that I can put in the fidget spinner and it always glides like this, so it doesn't really go off. It accelerates the same way, and that is important because on the muzzle side, once you engage this here, the fidget spinner is caught by this rubber band, and this applies the spinning so that it starts to spin. So this would be no spin and this would be spin, which allows us to compare both to each other. The rest is pretty standard, our one-piece trigger sear mechanism, except that this time it's a mechanical hook that clamps in and not directly the string. The string runs through a hole in the sled here. Acceleration is short, but there is plenty of rubber. One important change to the spinner, I had to put a screw through this so that the both plastic parts are holding together, otherwise they would come off in flight quickly and render the whole thing useless. Alright, the gun is cocked. As you see, the fidget spinner is in place. Now let us shoot at the cardboard box. Ha! Sticks right in. Let's see if the fidget spinner gun can kill a whiskey bottle. It can! Alright, there is a little bit of damage, as you see one of the weights popped out, but on the other hand, this gives us a chance to see how wobbly they are when they're not fully balanced. And it's easy enough to put it in again. Oop, I think I need some glue. As it comes out clearly in the slow motion, you can really see that the rubber band gives the spinner really its kind of rotation, but also that comes with a price, because that is actually a hard impact. If you don't believe me, just take your fidget spinner and hit it hard with the finger like that. And you will feel that that's actually quite an impact. It hurts. And this means, of course, that when it comes out of the muzzle, this thing hits the spinner, and actually a lot of energy is lost because of that hit. So turning it into spinning motion costs energy. And that, of course, is counterproductive in terms of reach. On the open range, we'll now give it a try, although it is dangerous since I've already lost a few of those. They're very hard to find in the high grass. I go for it. Woo! Wow, all the way to the other end. That was far. I hope I'm gonna find it. Alright, I did not find it, so I'm down to my very last fidget spinner. Fortunately, those are really inexpensive ones. They're only like a couple of euros. Alright, gangster style. It flew perfectly well sideways, very stable. Of course, the side wind had the same impact, but it was actually not lifting up to the left like it should have been, because I shot that way, so it was spinning like this. So, fidget spinners. I just ran out of ammo, I guess. Although, maybe I should sit down and make some at home with scalpel blades in the front. But then, of course, YouTube will immediately demonetize the video, so there is no point really for me to do that. In any case, I hope you liked this, because that's it for today. Thanks and bye-bye.